Arts is made possible by the Kelso Foundation, the Elizabeth Huth Coates Charitable Foundation, and viewers like you.
Arts is presented by the Tobin Center for the Performing Arts, providing the best place anywhere to see and hear a live performance, transforming the performing arts in San Antonio's decade of downtown. The Tobin Center.
On this edition of Arts, a unique interactive art exhibit opens for the blind. Local arts writer Tammy Kegley takes us through the final week of San Antonio's Contemporary Art Month and find out which artists will be inviting you into their personal studios this Sunday during CAM's 2015 Open Studios event. All this and much, much more on this edition of Arts. Hi, I'm Asia Sheravino and welcome to Arts. Well, Contemporary Art Month may be winding down, but there's so much more still to happen. First up, we meet with curator Trina Bacon to learn more about this year's Color of Blind, a unique interactive art exhibit for the blind and those with special needs.
The Colorblind is coming to Brick at Blue Star, our 2015 show. We have over 60 artists participating, from metal sculptors, ceramists, fiber artists, and painters. The Colorblind is an interactive art show for all people, but basically it's catered to the blind and to special needs society. The difference with this exhibit from any other exhibit is that all the artwork is touchable. You can experience the artwork through your touch. If you're sighted, you could come through the doors blindfolded with a guide, so you could have an experience of the art pieces with your touch before you're able to see the pieces. It's a really very unique art show. We're the only city in the United States that has an annual art show that is catered for the visually impaired and special needs society. It's extremely important for special needs visually impaired to be able to experience art. For a long time, visually impaired, upon interviews with many different visually impaired people, they feel actually ostracized from society. They feel that once they've lost their sight, they weren't able to participate in many things that they used to be able to participate in. Art is something that is in our hearts, and being able to create and being able to experience other people's expression of art. To me, it's very, very important to not only limit art to the sighted, but to open art up to everyone in society. The Color of Blind is an abstract title. The color of blind means what actually is the color of blind. There actually is no color. When you come into the Color of Blind and you come in blindfolded, you can understand what visually impaired go through on a daily basis. When you're touching the art pieces and feeling the different mediums, you could then understand their point of view as well. My ultimate goal is to have a permanent space, to have the first museum, self-standing museum in the United States for the visually impaired and special needs. That would really put San Antonio on the map. Also, with having the first museum, I also want to have lessons for special needs, for the visually impaired, and also lessons for the parents of special needs children, to teach them how to teach their children art and creative ways of how they could be expressive as well.
You can learn more about Color of Blind by visiting their Facebook page. We want to hear from you. Do you know of a good story you'd like to see aired on Arts? Let us know by emailing us at arts@klrn.org. If we use your idea, you'll get a screen credit on our program. Next up, we head over to Houston, Texas to visit with a photographer that's snapping photos at new heights. Employing drone technology, this visionary is capturing the Bayou City like never before.
My process is very simple, and I try to be sort of as stealthy as possible and sort of quick as possible, remaining safe. I don't like rush it, but I like to sort of remain sort of unseen and not have people bother me and talk to me about it just because it's sort of a controversial subject. When you're on the ground, I don't think you really think about your surroundings a lot, especially in downtown Houston when a lot of people are still sort of unfamiliar with it. I think they have sort of blinders on when they're walking around in the street, so it sort of gives us just a different context. Houston Crossings is a project that I started a few months ago that is shooting intersections from above in a sort of grid-like way that they all sort of align, and it creates this sort of abstract view of the city. When I first got the drone, I just had this image of flying up from an intersection and seeing sort of the city grow out of that image. And as I started trying to do that, I realized how much I like to see, especially with this wide-angle lens, the buildings sort of splay out from an intersection, and you see it, a very familiar sight from a totally different vantage point. Texas and Crawford specifically, you see this construction project that's happening across the street that has these columns poured, these concrete columns and nothing else, so that you get this interesting sort of splaying of that grid. You get a glimpse of the stadium, but you don't really see much of the stadium. And it just gives a different, sheds a different light on the life of the city, I think. I think the great thing about drones is you're able to fly lower and into tighter spaces than you normally would be able to. The other thing that I think is really great is you have complete control over your exact positioning, and you can be very deliberate about, you know, symmetries and axes, and which is something that I do in the Houston Crossings thing. Is I'm very specific about making it very symmetrical, and so they all align really well. The drone is a pretty simple technology, really. This is a quadcopter, and as they get bigger, they have more rotors, which spin in different directions to sort of control the direction or elevation. The camera mechanism is called a gimbal, which is to stabilize footage. All of the camera settings and everything are controlled from a mobile app, either on your phone or on a tablet or something. It's connected GPS satellite, so when I take my hands off the controller, it'll hover there so I can really focus on the shot. Most of my subject matter has been downtown. Houston Crossings sort of stemmed out of that. It was a lot of the sort of extension of my cityscape photography. You can sort of center on a building, and it sort of showcases where that building sits within the city in a really unique light. Well, artistically, I think it really offers vantage points that you just couldn't get before. It's enabling filmmakers to get shots that are low-flying, smooth panning shots, and these really amazing artistic shots that wouldn't be able to have been done before, period. But when they would have been able to have been done, it would have been with helicopters. So I think it's really allowing people like me that wouldn't be able to do this the opportunity to see things from a light that they might not have been able to before.
For more information, you can visit petermalik.com. We are back with All Things Cam from Tammy Kegley.
Glad to be back
I'm so
again,
glad
Asia.
you're here because there's so much happening. Okay, go.
I know. I'm still alive. We are making this happen. Cam Perennial opening at Guadalupe last week. Absolutely, so much fun. Amy Mackey was in town from Parse, New Orleans. She was the curator of the show. So pleased, had so many good things to say about the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center, about the board of CAM. It was a really positive experience. And of course, this week, the New Orleans invasion continues. CAMX, that means exchange. X is for exchange. They're going to be at Flight Gallery, opening a show. It's called Delta Dawn. Get out to see that. It'll be through the end of March. So a lot of these things are ending at the end of March. So get out and see them. Danville Chadburn. Danville Chadburn has been around in San Antonio a long time. In the past couple of years, he's been traveling a lot. But right now, there's a show up at Northeast Lakeview. The show is through March 26th.
Okay.
Get out and see it. If you're out Universal City Way, it is open by appointment, but it's definitely worth doing a see. The Fabulous New Chair Show. This is going to be fun. This is at Mockingbird Handprints. If you haven't been there before, they do absolutely wonderful, wonderful imaginative work for upholstery, for your walls. New works, individual one-of-a-kind chairs by Paula Cox, Jane Bishop, and Rainey. Parchman Stremmel has another New Orleans connection. Brantley Elsie, that's through April 24th. That's a good one. Tonight, after this show, until 11 o'clock, Melinda Martinez Gallery. They have their third Friday reception going.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. There's so much.
I know.
It's awesome,
It's crazy. It's crazy. Equinox Gallery. Who knows Equinox Gallery? If you don't know Equinox Gallery, wonderful, wonderful jewelry gallery at La Vita, Alejandro Cifuentes, with paintings by Brent Wyden. It's in La Mañana Verde.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It's very easy to say.
It is very easy to say. Normally it is. Miniature Curiosa, puppetry. A show called an excruciatingly...
This is really cool.
It is. Excruciatingly ordinary toy theater show.
Okay, so it's little teeny things.
It's puppetry, and you just have to go see it. I can't describe it because it's different every time.
But you can bring your kids.
You can bring your kids.
Child friendly.
They're in residence over at 1906, Andy Benavides' place. So that's a must see. But do make reservations. You've got to buy tickets in advance, so they'll go fast. That's going through April 18th. Saturday, March 21st, Picked Six at Clamplight. Color a Blind at Brick, Rodolfo Choprania at New Space. Sunday, open studios all day long.
Wow, great opportunity for families to get out there, go and check out what's happening.
Absolutely, check your CAM calendar, and then there's an after party at Zoli Glass Studio.
Cool.
4 to 8 o'clock. The next week, because this is the last time you're going to see me before the end of the month.
Cam.
Yes,
Cam
the end of
closing.
Cam closes. That'll be at Chris Park. That'll be on the 27th. The Chris Park Linda Pace Foundation, absolutely wonderful, wonderful park space.
Fun party.
Same night, if you can hit 2 parties, if you've got energy like we do. SAC, Small Scale Works for a Larger Cause auction. You got to check it out. On the 28th at Pittman Sullivan Park Community Gardens, there's going to be a kite festival. You got to go to the kite festival.
Awesome.
I know. I'm like,
we are so lucky. We live in such a cool city.
We do live in a cool city, and when you're done with the kite festival, you head over to Bill House Gallery for an opening of Eve of Consciousness, new works by Elizabeth Rodriguez.
Whoa!
So, and
we're
then
gonna have
there's
a camp
Ballet
hangover.
San Antonio.
Oh, Ballet
Don't forget
San
Ballet
Antonio.
San Antonio.
What are they doing?
They're doing their Balanchine program. Check out my article coming up in Rivard Report. I'll be writing all about it, but buy your tickets. 27th and 28th. We've got more than too much to do.
So fun. Thank you. I'm going to miss you. Come back
I'll
and
be
talk
back.
more things.
I'll be back. We'll
Okay.
be back in April.
Oh, yay! For Fiesta.
For Fiesta.
Great.
Hi.
Thanks, Tammy.
Thank you, Asia.
You can read more from Tammy Kegley in the Arts and Culture section at therivardreport.com.
To add your event to the KLRN Arts Calendar, visit klrn.org/arts.
The show is called Painting Rhythms, and the inspiration behind it was really my process. My process is creating the environment in my studio in which to create this work. That's really the most important part. And at the root of that is music, anywhere from rock and roll to jazz to blues to even electronic music now. Before it was just kind of in the background, and now I wanted to try to express the idea of music visually. And so listening, paying attention to the different rhythms and the different sounds, and then going and finding a way to translate that onto the canvas, which is what you see here. When I started working in metal, which is what this show is on, I started to think about my childhood and seeing artists like Jackson Pollock and Rothko and all of these abstract expressionists. But at the other end, I was a mixed media artist, and I loved working with metal, aluminum specifically, which is what this show is. And I wanted to somehow fuse the abstract work and the metal that I was doing, which is ink on aluminum. What you see now is a very thin, transparent type of paint, which is ink, and over the top of an underpainting on aluminum, which gives you a real three-dimensional shift as you move around the piece, and that changes the colors and that changes the context of the piece. So the idea is to kind of form a relationship with the viewer and have them interact with the piece more than they would a normal painting. Whereas I think some of the contemporary painting has kind of lost that because everybody's doing it now. So what is the edge? How are you going to differentiate yourself as an artist, and especially as a contemporary artist now? I want people to stand in front of these paintings and really get awed again, almost like the 50s and 60s when you first saw Jackson Pollock or Rothko or de Kooning or whoever. People had never seen anything but figurative work before. And so now I realize when people stand in front of my work for the first time, I get that reaction, that ooh, what is this? I know it's contemporary painting, but with the metal and the shifting that's going on beneath the paint, you get something new. And that's the idea, is to really trap that viewer and get them interested and have them totally focus on that. My show opened up here, Painting Rhythms, at Anarte Gallery on March the 5th, and it is closing on March the 31st.
So one of the best parts about Contemporary Art Month is that not only do you have these exhibitions, these activities, these events that are happening, but every year we do the open studio tours. And this is a chance for you to go behind the scenes, actually go into the artists' galleries, their studios, and see what their process is, talk to the artists, hear about their artwork. The open studio tours will take place on Sunday from 12 to 4, and then after that there's an after party that'll take place at Zolly Glass Studios from 4 to 8. And so that's a time to kind of come back, share what you learned during those experiences, have a cold beer, and have a good time.
For more information on this year's participating artists, visit contemporaryartmonth.com. Next up, we head up to Ohio, where a board game parlor is sparking some serious buzz. New games and the beloved classics are drawing a fresh following of gamers, and they're giving the idea of game night an interesting spin.
23 to 18, so right now we're winning. And I say we just say we win and we take our treasure right now.
Wait.
No, too late. Too late.
It's 2.3 seconds.
She has 2 seconds.
I said too late like 3 times.
2.3
I have
seconds.
plenty of time.
Is that really written in the rules?
Yeah, it is.
Kingmakers is a board game parlor, so it's a pretty straightforward concept. You kind of come in, we have a library of board games. We have board game sommeliers on hand to help you learn the games if you're unfamiliar with them, help you with instructions, rules, recommend a game. And then we have 8 taps of beer, 4 taps of wine. We're the only place in Columbus doing kegged wine. It's really the only place in Columbus between the coast that you can get this fully in the machine that it's supposed to be in. Delicious fresh wine. And especially soda pop. We do pretzels from Brazil in 3 flavors every day, and coffee, hot drinks, tea, things like that. I saw this concept in Toronto. It's called Snakes and Lattes in the spring of 2012. So if you can count back, it's been a long time in the works here. You know, I was kind of dragged there. I'd been spending a week in Toronto with a family friend, and she kept saying, you got to go to this board game place, you know, cafe. And I kept saying, that sounds terrible. I'm not a board game player. And you think of this dark, dingy, like coffee shop that has like these old copies of games or missing pieces, you know, and went in and just had this fantastic experience. They have over 2,000 unique titles in their library there. I just loved it. And I said to the guy, you know, I think this would be great in Columbus. How do I do it? And he said, you know, good luck. Somebody asks me every day how I take this to a different city. And now that I'm here, people ask all the time. So I think he was pretty surprised when I emailed him back 3 months later and said I'm working on it, you know, but it took a while. We have upwards of 250 games right now. We have a shipment for another over 75 games coming in by end of week. We have a shelf here that we call the Classics game shelf, which is our smallest shelf of games. Probably what you kind of grew up playing, everyone's kind of familiar with. We're certainly expanding in that area, but the majority of our games are this kind of new burgeoning industry. If you haven't played games in 10 years, 20 years, the industry's come so far, and they're these really imaginative, beautiful, creative games that are done by artists, they're done by designers. They're just magical. So really a shelf of, most of our shelves have these types of games on them. Sometimes you're in the mood for something where you're thinking a lot, or it's really involved, or you're wanting to go to a magical world or another dimension or something. Sometimes you're just in the mood just have fun with your friends, and we have this shelf of games that we call party games. Snake Oil is probably one of our most popular of those. It's really fun. You're basically taking the mechanic of apples to apples and trying to sell your choice to your fellow players.
I'm a nurse.
What you need is clairvoyance.
The point of what we're doing here is really accessibility. We're making this industry that I think has really not had a wider audience, and trying to take that and make it accessible to everyone. So everything about this concept is designed to really get everyone comfortable in here trying something new. We opened up in January. It's a tough time to open a business. It's the coldest winter on record in a number of years. I think all that being said, I think Columbus is just really supportive of small businesses and new stuff, and people are really eager to try new stuff. So I think our reception there has been great. And I think for us, we've always been interested in creating a really consistent experience. So maybe this isn't something you're looking for every single night of the week, although I think some people are, but like if you're looking for this type of night, really chill, just kind of something to do with your friends and family. We hope that you think about us, and I think what we're finding is that folks, this is filling a niche for them. It's filling this gap where they didn't really know where to go to have this kind of experience. So we're hoping really just to keep doing that well.
Next up, we meet the amazingly talented puppeteers behind Warhorse.
We inspire so many people. We tear up. We're all saps for theater, and that's why we're here. And we love it. The magic works for us every single time, as it does for our patrons. Warhorse was a wonderful surprise for us because it wasn't top of mind in the Broadway community with your average Broadway crowd. It wasn't singing and dancing and beautiful girls and handsome guys. The message of Warhorse, it's unstoppable. It's been a terrific sales success, and we're very proud of the community to embrace a show that's not just your average Broadway show.
In 2004, an associate director came to the National Theatre of Great Britain, and he knew immediately coming in that he wanted to work with this puppet company, the Handspring Puppet Company, based in South Africa.
The inspiration for this horse actually came from a show that Handspring Puppet Company did before in the early 2000s called Tall Horse, which was a show about a giraffe. And the National Theatre of London had been visiting Handspring Puppet Company, saw that show.
There was some kind of talk about it, and then Handspring was approached and said, "This is perfect. We can,
So they started on prototypes for making these horses. It took them a really long time to figure out how to make a lot of the mechanisms work. most importantly, how to make a puppet bear weight and be able to move on stage. And they had lots of different ideas that they tossed out before they landed on this. When you look at the horse, I mean, it's not intended to look like a living horse. There's no horse skin on it. It's not supposed to be, oh wow, that looks, you can't even see the puppeteers. But because of the natural materials and because of the suspension of disbelief, which, you know, we hope to make easy for you, you completely forget about that. And within minutes, this sort of almost skeletal horse becomes extremely real.
When I first started out in terms of working on the puppet technically, my entire focus and my awareness was all about how do I make these legs move like a horse's front legs move. And so then I was basically just entirely focused on that. And as my awareness began to get, you know, larger and larger, the scope of my awareness, so that I was less worried about how the legs are and more worried now about what I'm being asked from my teammates and what I'm being offered from my teammates. And then as that becomes second nature, then all of a sudden you're able to react together while doing what you need to do, while listening to what you're getting from either your heart or whatever you're getting from. And then also taking your impulses off of whoever's talking to this horse or whoever's stimulating this horse.
When Joey comes out for his big bow at the end and we get a huge cheer, I mean, we know that's for us, and we're really proud to be a part of that. And the other thing I think that I'm really proud of is that this is a show that I think really stands for why live theater is still relevant. It's an experience you can't have anywhere else.
Up next, let's see what KLRN's new group, 501 Creative, is up to.
501 Creative is a small group of individuals that work at KLRN who want to share their creativity and passions with others beyond the typical 8 to 5 workday. KLRN's 501 Creative is presenting our Think Out Loud open mic event next Tuesday here at Rosella's Coffee for music, poetry, comedy, or anything else you'd like. So for more information on this event, go to klrn.org/thinkoutloud.
And that wraps it up for this week of Arts and all of our amazing CAM coverage. So get out there and check out all that San Antonio has to offer. Until then, I'm Asia Sheravino. We'll see you next week.
Arts is made possible by the Kelso Foundation, the Elizabeth Huth Coates Charitable Foundation, and viewers like you.
Arts is presented by the Tobin Center for the Performing Arts, providing the best place anywhere to see and hear a live performance, transforming the performing arts in San Antonio's decade of downtown. The Tobin Center.